Okay, good morning everyone. It's Tuesday, July 13th, 2021, and we're going to get started with our pre-market analysis on the S&P 500 futures market. Let's go ahead and actually really quickly what I'd like to say is I want to thank the guys over at Trade the Plan, especially Daniel Rowe, for helping out here and creating an amazing divergence analyst. This thing is, although there are a lot of signals you can see on these short time frames, it gets pretty busy. This thing is picking up almost every single divergence that I personally look for, and super customizable. I think probably the most robust divergence analyst I've ever seen. So kudos to them, and I'm really happy to be running the system on here. It has helped a lot to kind of clear things up for me, so I don't have to be looking at 5 or 6 time frames at once. So again, just wanted to thank them. And one other thing really quickly here before we start, just wanted to point out we had the CPI news at 5:30 this morning, and huge sell-off. Interestingly enough, again, just to show the power of Fibonacci here, we did have a sell-off from about 78.50 down to a low of about 61.25. And when the market did recover a little bit, look where it found resistance, pretty much right at 50%. It broke it by about 2 or 3 ticks, continued selling off here. And if we step back and we look at the entire push up from yesterday's low, which was back here, we found support pretty much directly at the 61.8 retracement of the whole push up. So again, that's why I love fibs. And let's get started here on the ultra high time frames. Our quarterly and our monthly both look very, very strong here. It just seems to get stronger and stronger. No signs of exhaustion. Looking pretty good. Our weekly also looking very strong. No signs of exhaustion here. And then we get to our daily, and this is where we talked about the potential for there to be a bearish indication on the daily if we cannot go ahead and push up and break above just about 73 on RVI down here. And so we did get a bearish indication off of the previous daily high. But, you know, as we push here, like I say often in these strong bull pushes up, we are going to get these exhaustion patterns, and they will sometimes lead to some type of a shallow pullback if we're in a strong trend. And we kind of saw that this morning, did we not? We saw, what is it, maybe a push from 78 to 50, let's say 78 to 58 for a good 20-point sell-off there in a matter of seconds. So let's look at our, outside of that one bearish indication, everything as far as this trend goes is very strong. This is now, what, I think over a year or two worth of data here, and things are just like there's no end in sight as far as this push higher. So let's take a look at our 4-hour. 4-hour did have a bearish indication off of the previous daily high as well. And so we have some agreement there on the 4-hour. And on this pullback right now, we don't necessarily have a strong bullish indication of a continuation higher here. But that's we did have all of these very strong bullish indications on the previous pullbacks. So maybe we're going to have just a little bit more of a sell-off here to get that indication on the 4-hour. Let's get down to our 60-minute. And 60-minute also did have a bearish indication around yesterday morning, but pushing to the all-time high, we did not get an agreement with the 4-hour and the daily for that bearish indication. And what I'm noticing right now is we had the somewhat of a bullish case off of the previous daily low, if not the bounce and the pullback from that previous daily low. We did get some bullish indications on the 60-minute. And right now you can see the divergence analyst has identified a potential hidden divergence. If this continues to follow through, it will complete and put an official signal on the chart here. So right now, we talked about this was a pullback of a 61.8 retracement, and notice we're bouncing right off the previous resistance in the market from yesterday. So this could potentially hold. It would give us a nice 1 hour bullish indication. And so that's where we are right now on the 60-minute. If we look at this entire leg from the July 8th low to the high we have right now, very clear leg right here after this strong sell-off on the night of July 8th. We do have some decent agreement down below around 61.8 here, and the 38% retracement over around the previous daily low. So if things do pull back, we still defending these levels below us is still going to be a bullish case. So we'll keep that in mind here. And we're going to go down to the intermediate time frames here, and we did get agreement. So the 1 hour did not have the bearish indication off the previous daily high, which is our all-time high right now again. But it did on the 4 hour, it did on the daily, and now we'll see it here on the 30-minute. So there was just that one time frame disagreement. And right now, like I said, we did try to push higher, but then got this 20-point sell-off when that news came out at 5:30 this morning. Right now, you can see I did draw the fib up on this leg as well. So right off of that 61.8 retracement and this previous resistance in the market, really nice reaction there. And right now we did have a bearish indication off the highs, and not necessarily the cleanest bullish indication off the lows here. If we wanted to go all the way back to this swing low back here, you could make some type of argument that there is a hidden divergence going on right now, kind of like what we saw on the 60-minute from that previous low. So there is that going on right now, and I might as well mark that. Outside of that, not much else to be said here on the 30-minute, and we'll see here if the 10-minute has any agreement. 10-minute did have the bearish indication off the previous daily high. So pretty much every time frame except for the 60-minute gave us a clear bearish indication off of that exact level there at 79.25. And from a 10-minute perspective here, I would argue that there really are no bullish indications off the low that we just made. Again, we could go all the way back to this swing low back here, and there is somewhat of an argument that could be made. It's not my favorite way to do divergent analysis going back like that on a 10-minute. We can just jump up to the higher time frames and go to the 60-minute, and then we have a nice, clear, obvious divergence from that previous low. I'd like to see something in this local area, like a push down like this, and then our RVI maybe kind of does this thing, pushes up, comes down, makes a higher low, and then we have a situation where we push to a lower low in price, but a higher low in RVI. We did not get something like that. So not necessarily the strongest agreement down here, if you ask me. What does that mean? Maybe, like I said earlier, maybe we're going to have just maybe a little bit more of a push down, and then we get a really clear agreement with the 10-minute, and also with, what was it? I believe the 4 hour, I think, was the other time frame we were talking about, not having necessarily the strongest indication of a bounce from the low that we're at now. So maybe if we pull a little bit lower or play around in here, we'll start to get a stronger bullish signal on that 4 hour to agree with what we're seeing here on the 30-minute, the 60-minute, and again, maybe this 10-minute will then develop a nice bullish signal as well. So for now, we've kind of have a mixed type of scenario. There were a lot of bearish indications off of that all-time high, but we did get a pullback, and again, a 20-point pullback is not very much when you have that many time frames agreeing, but you have to keep in mind the context of what's going on in the market here. We're just slowly chugging higher, and so this little 20-point pullback could be it. So this morning, we don't have a very strong support area, in my opinion. So essentially, we really would like to hold the previous daily low for our bullish case to kind of follow through. And if we can't get through the overnight high, the previous daily high, which is our all-time high right now, then we could see a bit more of a correction here lower. And if that does occur, we have some decent, let me go back to my 60-minute here. We do have some decent retracement levels below us here for this current leg. And so if things do start to sell off, we could expect some type of support right around the previous daily low, which happens to be a 38% retracement of this whole push up. There's also a nice prediction point sitting right in there as well. And then if we continue to pull back, that 61.8 retracement area is also lining up with that previous resistance that arguably did not have a strong test, maybe back on July 9th in the middle of the night there. We did get somewhat of a bounce from there, but not necessarily a nice clean bounce from that level. So maybe we get something over here for a bounce. And I think that's going to basically do it for this morning's analysis.